Thanks again for tuning in for another episode of Dial Up's Workshop. We have a real simple video for you. We're going to be changing the spark plugs on our Mercedes. Now the spark plugs are all located on the left side of the engine in this car. They're all right over here. So let's talk about why we want to change our spark plugs. They're really important and they're a really simple wear item. They do wear out over time. It's important to change them. They ignite the fuel and air that goes into the engine. Simple as that. If they don't ignite well, your car is not going to run well. If you're lucky enough, like I am, you still have your factory stickers on your car. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, see a small picture of a spark plug, Bosch H7D, and that's all we need. And on our tool tray, you can see our 4 brand new spark plugs. We have a spark plug gap tool, small magnetic pickup tool. We have our spark plug socket. This is a 5/8 because freedom units, although it's a German car, so it actually takes a 16 millimeter. This is a torque wrench. It's optional, but a good idea. First step's going to be pulling all these plug wires off. Now they're actually quite tight, but you also don't have to worry about mixing them up. Take your 5/8 or your 16 millimeter socket, put it on the plug. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Oh, yeah, those are way too tight. With all the plugs out of the engine, I can tell right away these aren't the factory spec plugs because they have 4 electrodes on the bottom of them. I also say platinum, not really the end of the world. Now having a look at the electrodes, I can see a buildup of deposits on there. That could be from a couple of things, oil consumption or even the lead substitute that the previous owner ran in this car. This one looks a little better. Oh, if I didn't tell you, I lined them up, cylinders 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, again, having a look at cylinder 1, you can see a buildup of deposits on there. No clear mechanical damage, so I'm not worried about that. That plug looks a little bit better. Still see a bit of oil on it. Now, working our way to the back of the engine, I can see some white deposits on here. Now, that's a couple of signs of maybe running a bit lean, but likely that lead substitute that the last owner had. Cylinder number 4 is really white. So it's a good thing we're getting these things changed back to a factory plug. So let's have a look at our brand new spark plugs and our spark plug gap tool. First things first, we're going to check our box. It says what the gap should be. I've already checked the manual of the car. It should be 0.8 millimeters or 0.032 inches. That's perfect. Let's take our spark plug. You can already see the tip of that looks a little different than the ones we pulled out. And here's our spark plug gap tool. Now this is the American side in inches. We don't want freedom units. We want millimeters. So we're going to take this tool, insert that in the tip of the spark plug, and if we can move this along to 0.8, then this spark plug is gapped properly. This is why you always want to check this. Gap is really important. So since we can't quite get that to 0.8, why you should always check your brand new plugs. Let's just open up this gap a little tiny bit, not too much. Put it in, and we should be able to move this right along down to 0.8. That's right on the center of the line. That's good. Now we're just going to do the exact same thing for all 4 plugs. So let's have a look at our spark plugs, old versus new. We want to compare the two and make sure that the lengths are nearly identical. Above the nut here, where the spark plug wire connects to it, not really that big of a deal. But down here, in between the spark plug seat here, all the way down to the tip of the electrode, the length is extremely important because that part comes near your piston. And if those are off, you could have big problems. So now that the spark plugs are threaded in by hand, we're going to have to tighten them. if you don't have a torque wrench, it's not really the end of the world. Take your 16 millimeter socket or 5/8, put it on the spark plug itself, and usually give it about maybe an eighth, maybe a quarter of a turn at most. And that would typically be fine. But because we have a torque wrench, and we want these to be easy to take out in the future, these are going to be set to 20 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds. Once you hear a click, that's all it takes. Spark plugs don't need that much torque in an aluminum head. You don't want to risk damaging the threads. You don't want to affect your serviceability down the road. Just that easy. And that's just about it. Just put our spark plug wires on. Thanks to this wire tray, they're just impossible to mix up. This car usually had a bit of a hard cold start, and after seeing the plugs out, I'm absolutely sure why. Beautiful. So I hope you guys found some useful information about changing your spark plugs, a bit of information why they're important, and what they can look like coming out of your engine. As you can see, how much happier that car is starting cold. It was always cranky. Thanks again for tuning in for another episode of Dial Up's Workshop. I'm really sorry about the gap in time in between videos. But it's been a really busy year. I've seen that everybody appreciates it. Everybody's still watching it, so I'm happy to make more of these maintenance videos. Don't forget to leave a comment below if you like what you see, or if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help you out. And subscribe to the channel too. It really helps me out, and we look forward to seeing you next time. With both parts.